as you guys are wrapping up. Hello, everybody at home. Welcome to class. It's Thursday. I hope you're all staying safe and you're healthy. And we just went over, you guys have some homework tonight on Canvas. It's located. I would like you to choose, if you are at home, either do Group A or Group B. If you are in class, I'm going to assign you a particular group that I want you to do. So you can do A, you will do B. Just write it down somewhere so you don't forget A, and then B. You'll be B. You guys will do, you will do A, B, A, B, A. Okay? So whatever group that I assigned, when you get onto Canvas, you'll see I want you to apply it to that particular group. And then that is going to be graded, so you're going to want to make sure that you guys get that done. And at home as well, that will be something that we will be grading. Today we are going to go over automatic and effortful processing and how do we encode and the best ways we encode. So that's our goal for today. Everybody here in class is just kind of wrapping up their test diagnostic, and we're going to move on. I'd also like to just remind you guys that this chapter is pretty lengthy, but it's going to be short as far as the amount of time we're going to put into it. So stay on top of that reading. There's a lot of vocabulary words in there, and you will not have, just to remind you again, as I did yesterday to everybody in class, you will not have an essay during this chapter, so you get a little bit of a break with that. You will, however, have the multiple choice test. You guys will take it the day before break, so it'll be a week from Tuesday will be your test, your multiple choice test in here over this. I'm going to keep this up for the next few days, so if you aren't able to get everything written down today, that's okay. Yesterday we went over to the green. Today my goal is to go over the center aisle right here. And then tomorrow we're going to go over these two things here on this side. And then we'll finish with long-term memory on Monday. It's kind of where we are headed here. Let's see. Let's give this a shot of what I would like us to kind of accomplish. If you are still with your exams, if you could just take another couple minutes and wrap that up. I'm going to give you guys some moments to write those notes down. If you're just waiting, just be patient, and we'll get started here in just a minute for everybody to be on the same page. Question? No question? Got it. All I could see out of the corner of my eye was the hand going up. And Leah, you could just put your stuff back. That'd be great. So I know a lot of you guys are either just starting to write these notes down or you're like in the middle of writing them down. Again, I just want to remind you, this is going to be up for the next few days. If you don't get something written down today, that's okay. You can always take a picture too and then record it that way. I want to at least give you an understanding. I'm going to pull this screen down. I'm probably going to frustrate some of you, but I want you to understand what your homework is tonight. If you are at home, you can click on the assignment so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So when you guys click on this assignment for Canvas, it looks like this. So the assignment's called Peg Word Mnemonic. Mnemonic devices are one way in which you can improve your memory. One of the most effective mnemonic devices involves creating images of items you wish to memorize. You then associate these new images with images you already know, and you can easily recall them. This memory aid is called a peg word mnemonic. It's one of the terms that is a vocabulary term that you need to understand. So I thought the best way for you to understand what a peg word mnemonic is for you guys to apply it. So the first step is right here. Memorize the following list of 10 peg words. Notice that the words rhyme with their numbers. So try to create a visual like within your head. You probably have heard this rhyme before when you were a kid. 1 sun, 2 shoe, 3 tree, okay, etc., etc. And you're going to go to 10. Follow me so far? Everybody, that's pretty easy, right? Okay, then the step 2 is right here. Now look at the 10 words from your assigned group. So you guys have been assigned group A or group B. That's your assignment. I walked around and I said you're A, you're B. Remember me doing that? So if you are group A, here are your terms, frontal lobe, parietal lobe. Those will all sound hopefully familiar to all of us from our neuro unit. If you are group B, you're going to do the hypothalamus and end with the spinal cord. What you're going to do with those words is you're going to take those terms that are listed at the bottom here, these terms, whatever group you are in, and you are going to associate those terms with the peg word. So the first word is frontal lobe. The first word here is sun. So I've given you an example. 1 sun. Then you're going to put it to the frontal lobe and you write a sentence. The sun burned my frontal lobe because I didn't put sunscreen on. I had bad judgment and I needed to put it on, basically. So you're using this word with the first word. If you are group B, you're going to do hypothalamus. So you're creating 10 sentences is what you're doing. You're creating 10 sentences. 1 is a sun with frontal lobe. 2 would be shoe with parietal lobe or thalamus. What's the parietal lobe responsible for doing? Good, nice job, spatial awareness. So this is not only a review for memory unit, but it's a good review for our bio unit as well. When you guys come into class tomorrow, without looking at your answers, you're going to team up with an opposite person and teach them by memory what you had. All right? Got it? But you have to say the sentence. You got to be like, okay, the frontal lobe. It's the frontal lobe because this reason. Anybody have any questions? Give it your best shot. We'll see what you guys can come up with. Okay, with that being said, yesterday, this is what we went through. I talked to everybody about you have some type of sensory input that comes in. This was pretty easy to understand. I said the 2 most important words are iconic and echoic. Remember them because and then the hearing. We're moving on. Once you actually pay attention, it goes into this bank very, very briefly. You'll notice I put part 1, part 2, and part 3. So everything has an actual meaning behind these. So part 1, sensory memory, you have to encode it. If you don't encode it, it's going to be gone. It'll be out the window. So that's what I would like us to concentrate on today, right here. This was part of your homework as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to read you a series of list words. The only thing I want you to do is listen to the list words. So if you're taking notes, just take a break for a second. All right, here we go. Bed, quilt, dark, silence, fatigue, clock, snoring, night, toss, tired, night, artichoke, turn, night, rest, dream. All right, scrap paper. If you could get some scrap paper. Don't care, you're not turning this in. It can be anything. I'm gonna grab that test if you don't mind. Thank you. All right, so if you are at home right now, go ahead and grab some scrap paper, please. All All right, first thing I want you guys to write down is your phone number, please. Then I want you to write down what you had for supper last night. Ty, hopefully you ate. Ding dongs. I had tacos. There we go. Now I want you to, without sharing any of your answers, even if you're at home, go ahead and write down as many of the words that I listed off that you can recall, please. No, any order. When you've exhausted your resources and you've given up hope, it's okay. I'm going to read the answers. Can you please just correct yours? Count how many you get correct. At home, do the same thing. Bed, quilt, dark. They can be in any order to get them correct. Silence, fatigue, clock. Snoring, night, toss. Tired, artichoke. Turn. Rest, dream. There were a total of 14 words. But yes, night was repeated 2 times. But if you just wrote it down once, I mean, actually, I said 16 words total, with night being repeated 3 times. All right, how'd we do? What?
Does it have to be like the exact word? Like you said silence and I put silent.
Oh, it doesn't matter. It's okay. All right.
Can I count night if I put day and have one for those normal and?
Sure.
If I put night 4 times.
Sure. Well, it's only said 3 times. Okay, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, guys. Okay, what the girls are so quiet over here. Like, let's move on. Gentlemen, okay. The words over to the right of Ty on the board. Serial position effect down to reconstructive memory. Every one of those words is going to be demonstrated in this little thing that I just did here. Let's start with serial position effect. Serial position effect was part of your homework last night. It's also on the board here. Serial position effect is listed right here in the brown under a man's name by Herman Ebbinghaus. He's a super important name you're going to want to remember for this unit. There are 2 really important memory names that you want to remember. His and then a woman, Elizabeth Loftus. We will talk about her later. So make sure Herman Ebbinghaus, you have him written down. What he did was he came up with the idea of serial position effect. So I'm linking it back to that. So what is serial position effect? Based on your homework, you're going to remember the beginning and the end and tend to forget the stuff in the middle. That's what the serial position effect is. The stuff you remember at the beginning is called primacy. You need to know that word. That's another vocab word. And the stuff you remember at the end is called recency. So if you remember the stuff at the beginning of your class lectures, and then you remember the stuff at the end of your class lectures, but you forget the middle, it's very, very applicable in your life. Think about college when you guys go there next year. You know, think about like studying for a chapter test or a unit exam. You should probably spend most of your time in the middle of the unit, because that's where, if your memory is going to fail you, it's going to fail the middle of the unit more than the beginning or the end. Serial position effect. Primacy and recency. Primacy is starred. I have stars up here for a reason. If you're going to lose one, this is a test question. If you lose one, primacy or recency, which is the one you're going to lose? The recency. You're going to remember primacy longer than recency. Okay, so know that, that's a test question, okay? So let's go back to what we just did, even at home when I gave you those list words. The very first word, how many of you remembered it? What was the first word? Bed. Raise your hand if you remembered the word bed. Corinne, did you? You did not. 3. Everybody over here, Boris did not. So 2 people didn't, but everybody else did. I'd say that's the majority. How many of you remembered the very last word? That would be recency. Okay, and what was the last word, Corinne? What was it? Dream is correct. How many of you remember dream? Yeah, just remembered it. Did you remember dream? Mike?
Yes.
Did you? You did? You too. Okay, so just a couple more less for dream, but it shows that you guys, if you're going to remember something over the other, it's going to be dream. Now, what was in the middle? The word that was in the middle, where serial position effect would show it actually worked. How many of you forgot the word tired? You did not write the word tired down. That was more in the middle, okay? Following me? Everybody feel like you understand serial position effect. All right, next word, rehearsal. Rehearsal, up here. You must rehearse effortful processing. You say it over and over and over again. What word was said over and over and over again? Night. Anybody forget the word night in here? Every single one of you remembered it. I said it 3 times. The next word, novelty. It's not on the front board, but I wrote it on the right board. What does that mean? An odd word. What was the odd word? Artichoke. Who forgot artichoke? 2 of you. Not many. Not many. Chunking. When you combine things and you shove it together and you try to remember that way. Did anybody take 2 of the words that I said and try to remember it that way? What 2 words? Bed and quilt do tend to go together. Sleep and dream. Good. Toss, turn. Is that what you did? Toss, turn. They go together. Chunk. That's what that's called. Gentleman in the front. Reconstructed memory, where you actually come up with a whole new idea that didn't even exist. And I'm not talking creativity. You like create a memory that you think is real, but it's not. What word did anybody write sleep down? It was never stated. Sleep was never stated. But all the theme was around sleep. So you constructed in your own mind, sleep happened, right? Understand how we I am sure, Ty. You see how I demonstrated every one of those words? Let's go to your homework for last night. You were supposed to do that blue sheet that's right after that pink red sheet that you're taking notes on. If you didn't get it done, still please have it out at home if you guys could have that out as well. Let's go over the top portion of that. I've got it divided into how do we encode? 2 ways. And I wrote this at the top of that blue sheet for myself so I know what I'm talking about. How do we encode? Automatically and effortfully. There's 2 ways. Automatically, you should have in your box written how it's unconscious. It's an involuntary thing that just happens naturally. You don't have to think about it at all. So this is a really, really good thing for you. It can just think about how many times in your day where you're just like, oh, I remember that, and you weren't even trying to remember that. On the left-hand side, you were supposed to record what the book said, and then on the right-hand side, you were supposed to create something from your own life. If you did this, great. If you didn't, I want you to start doing it as we're talking, okay? Because this is just something good to study off of. So the book talks about space. How often, because of visualizing location, we just tend to remember things. So the example, and Corinne, I hope you do not mind, but I've not said your name in any other class except right here today, your class. But I've used this example because you did this. Have you ever done when you've taken a test and you try to visualize where the teacher was teaching it or where they wrote it on the board or where you learned it in the book? That's the example they gave you for the book example. how when you study, sometimes you unconsciously remember where it was located in a book. Corinne, the other day when we took the test, she said, Miss Horner, I don't know if you can answer this or not, but can you please tell me what school of thought was in the front of the board and what school of thought was over here on this board? She was doing exactly that without even knowing she was doing that. You were visualizing what I had put here and what I had put over there. I think more of us do this than not, when we're studying. Does anybody have an example in your personal life besides that where you have done something like that? You visualize a space, location. My example, I said in class yesterday, I said, I unconsciously remembered where I had my first kiss when I was 14. I didn't try to remember that. It just came, I can exactly see where, and I'm 50 now. So can you guys think of location where you unconsciously remembered something, but you didn't try to? This is what on your second column. You need to put this down. Everybody, this is what I really want you to write down. Come on, you guys, share. I see some of you did it, some of you that didn't even think about. Where were you when you won the Cubs World Series? That's an example. Space. Can you remember that? Some of you might be able to remember that. Yes.
I remember exactly where I was when Kobe Bryant died.
Very good. That would be an example for space. All right. Now Michael has spoke. I'm going to pull you guys for the rest of the examples. Okay, so time. Time is about retracing your steps, sequencing. So you unconsciously remember time without trying to. So the example I used, well, I don't want to say my example because I want to see if you guys have the same. Does anybody have an example where you've retraced your steps and you didn't try to? Yes, Riley.
I do this a lot. I'll wake up and I forget where I put my keys.
Uh-huh.
And I have to think of where I put them when I got home.
That's exactly my answer. What was yours, Shaiba?
My phone where I was last at, where I left it.
Yeah, how many of you have lost something and you're retracing your steps and you're going back and you're like, okay, I had it here. Is it effective? Many times. Yeah, it can be. Did you ever get up off the couch, is my example, and you go into the kitchen to get something, and you get to the kitchen and you're like, I can't remember what I came in here for. What did I come in here for? But guess what? The minute you walk back to that couch, you remember. So you're retracing your steps and your thought. It's an amazing thing that will happen. The third one is frequency. We tend to remember how many times in a day we do something without trying to consciously remember that. Remember, all of this is without conscious thought. So what do you guys remember how many times in a day you've done something without trying to remember it? Besides Riley and besides Michael and Ava. Somebody else, give me an example. Yes, Corinne?
Like if you stub your toe once in a day, you see me do it a bunch, and it hurts.
Yeah, that's a good one. Others? I wrote down how many times I hear a song. If I don't try to remember it, but all of a sudden, by the end of the day, if I've been listening to the radio all day, I'm like, oh my God, this is the third freaking time I heard the same song. Especially if any of you work in retail and how they do those playlists over and over and over again, I would assume that was something. Now the big one here though is effortful processing. So this is, and I underlined this, even though you might not be able to see it highlighted back there, must rehearse. You need to know that. You do not rehearse automatic processing. You must rehearse effortful processing. In order for it to stick, it has to be rehearsed. This is where Herman Ebbinghaus comes in with the serial position effect. So with effortful processing, there are 3 examples. We've already done serial position effect at the bottom. Next in line effect is what you tend to forget what the person in front of you had just said. Okay, so give me an example of that in your life. You are so focused on what you're going to say, you tend to forget what they are saying. Boris?
Well, usually, if I get into an argument with somebody,
Yes.
I'm really focused on what I want to say to keep their point.
Yeah.
Not even the point they're saying now, but just the last point. So I'm so focused on that and what I want to say that I don't pay attention to what they're saying now.
It reminds me of what somebody said last period. They said, in those lines, they said, having a political argument. And I'm like, God, that is our world right now. Nobody is listening to one another. Everybody is so freaking hung up on what making their point and getting their point across. It's called the next in line effect. My example was going to a cocktail party and being introduced to a husband's coworker, and I'm so worried about what I'm going to say to them, I totally forget their name. They just told me their freaking name, and I'm like, oh God, because I'm thinking about what I'm going to say. Some of you may have done this in class, like giving a speech. Maybe you had to come up in front of class, and maybe Sophia's up, and then Chase is next, and Chase is not listening at all to Sophia because he's concentrating on what he's going to say. That would be an example in class. The next word is spacing effect. What does it say, Ava, about spacing effect in the book?
Like you should be studying for better long-term results.
Yeah.
It's a canon.
So to sum it up, don't cram, and I want you to write this down next to it. Quickly learned equals quickly forgotten. You bet. Quickly learned means quickly forgotten. When I said that first hour, there was only 5 people in my first hour. Oh my God, all of them busted out. Because I'm like, I know, you do this. You do this in this class, don't you? You try to cram the night before, and now look at you. You're very upset with your results of your test. Quickly learned means quickly forgotten. Stop cramming. It doesn't work. It's not effective. So you could give us any example about, like, school would be a great example of like how you've crammed in any class of that. And then the last one is serial position effect. Feeling like you understand all of those terms? Let's do another.
I already forget what serial position effect.
Which one?
Serial.
Serial position effect. You remember the beginning and the last, but you forget the middle. And the 2 words you're going to want to remember are right next to you, and they're also right here, primacy and recency. Starring primacy, because that's the one you're going to tend to remember the longest. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to, on top of what you're writing.
One, the sun.
2.
2, 3, 4.
All right, guys. At home, if you are listening, I just want you to kind of follow along and see what we're doing here. I'm going to do a little activity with the students. Could you guys just have that white sheet in front of you that I just gave you? Please take a second to read the 2 sentences for the instructions. I don't know if you guys can read this. Probably not. Yeah, I don't think you're going to be able to read that. Now take a second to reread the instructions. It's really important you do exactly as it states. Okay, here we go. The noisy fan blew the papers off the table. The green frog jumped into the swimming pool. The silly snake slithered down a steep sliding board. The crafty surgeon won the daily double. The skiing trumpeter started a gigantic avalanche. The plump chef liked to jump rope. The captured crook liked to do difficult crossword puzzles. 8. The small child sat under the lilac bush. The medieval minstrel strolled along the babbling brook. 10. The distressed teacher ate a wormy apple. We are only going to do the 10 on in your packet. Flip pass the blue page. Keep going, Corinne. Yep, that's it, I think. So there's a page that says, use both nouns and adjectives to answer the 20 questions, but you're only going to do 10 below. Fill that out, the first 10, to the best of your memory right now. Don't talk. So if you are at home, what we're trying to fill out is this. 1 through 10. Yep. Oh, are they not in order?
No, no, no.
Okay, just do the ones you remember then. I thought they were in order. I'm sorry. Yeah, they are.
Oh, they might be. I don't remember number 2 maybe.
Yeah, they are in order, yes. Wait. They're not in order. I say that again. I was trying to save some time, so I only gave you 10, but they're not in order, so apologize. As it states at the top, it says you needed to include both of them. On a normal day when we have more time, in the past, I have given the answers. If you guys could just if you could stop for just a second, I want to explain why I had you do this. There were 2 directions that went out. One of your directions sheets said, rate how easy each or difficult it'd be for you to say the sentence to yourself. And what did the other directions sheet ask you to do? Visualize. If we had more time and I collected your scores and we graded them, who would score better? The people that were asked to say it or to visualize it? The people that were asked to visualize always, every single time I do this, score much higher. And the reason is because of this. So the second piece that you need to know, and this is very important, what do we encode from effortful processing? Visual, acoustic, and semantic. Semantic is starred. If you had to visualize the sentence, what did you have to do? You had to understand the meaning of the sentence. Your memory will stick longer if you actually apply meaning to what you are doing. And this is in everything in life. So I'm not just talking about home or whatever, school. Every single time I say to you guys, hey, give me an example of your life. The reason why I'm doing that is we're trying to apply semantic meaning. Just wait a second. If you just come to class and you look, and some of you do this when you study for a test, you just flip through your notes. This is very low level, meaning you're not going to remember it. If you just come to class and listen and you do nothing else, that's also low level. But if you come to class and you read and you apply meaning, or you listen and you apply meaning, that's called dual encoding, and that is the best. Semantic always wins. All right, have a great day. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Did you? Have a great day, everybody at home. Enjoy your day.